Let's return to This Week in America. Here's your host, Rick Bratton.
Welcome back, everybody. Coast to Coast, This Week in America. The poems contained in Sound the Trumpet by Mr. Allie Smith are simply a reflection of some of our nexus socio-political and socio-economic factors that informed our societies by ways of life experiences and developments on our respective walks of life over the past and present times indeed. Mr. Allie Smith was born in Tambo Village, Freetown Peninsula, Sierra Leone, West Africa, currently lives in London. Allie gained his literal and practical education in Sierra Leone and in London. Mr. Allie Smith, author of Sound the Trumpet, and a distinguished member of the International Society of Poets from London via Skype, our guest on This Week in America. Allie, welcome to the program. It's great to have you with us today.
Me too. Thank you, Reese. I'm happy that you gave me the opportunity to talk about my book, Sound the Trumpet, and other issues, which I'm really pleased about.
Well, we've got so much to talk about with that. The book is touching so many people worldwide. The book, by way, you'll find it at Amazon.com. I'll give you all that information as we go through the program. First of all, what was the inspiration for writing the book, this collection of poems in Sound the Trumpet? What was the inspiration for you?
I drew my inspiration from many sources, and mainly due to abuse of rights, but in respect of myself, in relation to authorities, namely the British Metropolitan Police, the London Borough of Camden, and my fraud report in respect of my website against British Telecommunication PLC, in joint enterprise with 101 Internet and BJ Computer. I also drew my inspiration from a love relationship I had with a Bulgarian, because I wrote few poems about love. I further drew my inspiration from the concepts of war, referencing Iraq and Libya due to the invasion of those countries by Western military, which led into the post-liberation events, which have caused series of problems for the international community, particularly refugees migrating from Iraq, Syria, Libya into the Western world and facing further difficulties. So I was very, very disturbed by these issues, and then thought that I should continue writing my poems to reflect these issues, so as to enable the reader of my book gain knowledge about these issues. So in a nutshell, that's where I drew my inspiration. More or less, I was disturbed by the fact that I'm a foreigner from Freetown, Sierra Leone, West Africa, living in London, and then developed my social media, Funny Zulus. I then got a British company, BT, in the name of British Telecommunication, PLC, solicited me to supply them my web design, logos, and materials I have for the website, to include my trademark. I was impressed when I was contacted by British Telecommunication, PLC, but when it emerged that they conducted fraudulent way of constructing my website and publishing it on the internet without me having a broadband service with them, nor do I have a telephone service with them, and getting it online without these items belonging to me, and also setting up a PayPal account without my name and address. I found it very, very shocking, because I was not expecting that in the UK I would come here and meet a British company like BT doing what they have done to me. So that led me into making contact with Action Fraud UK, and then Action Fraud took fraud report for me, supplied it to the police. But in turn, the British police again refused to go further with investigation. So these were all shocking for me, leading to me writing a lot of poems about my website a lot of poems about abuse of my rights, referencing the British police and so forth. So that's how I drew my inspiration into writing this book, which is an incremental work ranging from 1994. I started writing poems and getting myself entering into poetry competitions organized in the USA by poetry.com in joint enterprise with the International Library of Poetry. And I was successful in getting many of my works selected for publication in anthologies and also selected for sound recording featuring the sound of poetry. Following this, again, nomination as International Poet of Merit, invited to receive awards in the USA, but I was unable to due to my difficulties I was facing in the UK. And I then got offered a certificate from the International Society of Poets as a distinguished member of the International Society of Poets. Accepted it, and then it was sent to me. So these were the way I went through in reflecting the issues which I had portrayed in my book.
And the book is Sound the Trumpet by Mr. Allie Smith, coming to us via Skype from London on the program today. Book available at Amazon, other places. We'll talk about that as we go through the program. You give us the background, the inspiration, the motivation, where the story material came from in the poems. And there's so much to talk about and so little time to do it because it's fascinating, the background that led you to write this book of poetry, Sound the Trumpet. But you mentioned in there poetry winning awards. You've won a number of awards, haven't you?
Yes, I won Outstanding Achievement in Poetry, 2 Outstanding Achievement in Poetry. I also won International Poet of Merit Award, invited to receive for the awards, but I did not attend the USA.
Yeah, the book is Sound the Trumpet, Mr. Allie Smith, and you can link on, get all the information by going to our website. As Allie pointed out, the book talks about a number of topics, corruption, human rights abuses, fraud as being operated at high levels in the United Kingdom of England and Wales. As you wrote this book, what did you learn? Did you learn something about writing the poems for the book Sound the Trumpet? A learning experience for you?
Yes, indeed. I learned that you cannot take things for granted, that you see things and accepted them in a facial value without investigating beyond that facial value. So that's where, in writing this book, I was able to understand that not everything that shines or glitters appears to be gold. It might be fake. So that's what I learned in writing this book, particularly knowing that I had developed a social media and paid for a trademark, gained a trademark in the United Kingdom. So I was with the impression that no one can infringe on my intellectual property rights. But that was an illusion on my part, because those who have power can infringe on these items without justice applied on them by way of punishing them. It is not possible. That's what I talked about, corruption at the high level, because in the UK, everything is swept under the red carpet. Nothing is being exposed. I compared the UK to the United States of America, where people have higher degree of rights to express themselves and expose any authority who is involved in a kind of corrupt lifestyle. But that is not the case in the UK. In the UK, those who are in authority use their position in authority to conduct unlawful activities against the vulnerable people. And the vulnerable person will not have any way to challenge these individuals, because those who are to investigate the individuals involved in corruption, they are in turn also corrupt, particularly the police. If one is to take a case to the police and accuse an authority of having done something, the police will turn around and victimize the vulnerable person because of the degree of importance of the authority, and they were not willing to expose the authority. For example, there was an issue about pedophiles in the United Kingdom, operated by dignitaries working for the BBC, whose name I cannot call but has been exposed. No police officer were willing to take action against him because of his position in society. And the victims were left to live with their suffering without help until when he died. That's the time the preachers come up with the stories that, oh, this person was a pedophile, this person was molesting children in an hospital, was also molesting cops in the mortuary and so forth. But when he was alive, no police officer were willing to take up issues against him. So I drew inspiration from it, and then correlate my inspiration to my experience with British Telecommunication PLC, who is a British company with high dignity and respect in the United Kingdom. When I reported them to the police for fraud, the police turned around and victimized me, refusing to investigate. If I called them, they would tell me, go back to your country. Go back to your country. So I found it very, 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 very strange. On to this present date, the fraud report is pending for investigation. Today, I got a call from victim support group in the UK asking me how I'm out feeling now about the fraud report. I said, well, I'm coping with it. I've written about it and exposed the issue to my readers who may be able to understand what is happening in the UK. So that's what I meant by fraud operating at high levels without being investigated. Right. Further issue here related to the London Borough of Camden, who gathered false documents and instigated child care proceedings in respect of my son, who was born on the 17th July 2011. By that time, I'd gained a U.S. green card offer, and I was about to migrate to the United States of America. I went through my medicals, completed my medicals, and went to the U.S. Embassy, completed my interview, and was ready to migrate, but the U.S. could not allow my partner to be joined in my U.S. green card offer because we are not married, and she was also heavily pregnant. And I then decided that I should get married and then join my partner into my U.S. green card offer so that we can immigrate to the United States of America. Following it, police officers appeared at my home address, pounced on my door. I opened the door, and bundled my partner and took her away. I thought she has committed a crime. It then emerged it was the London Borough of Camden who instructed police to appear in my house and took my partner away. And I found that the local authority were aggrieved by the poems which I've written. They were online under poetry.com in the United States of America. So I suspected that they were accessing those poems and reading them and finding that I'm writing things about authorities. So they then gathered false documents and then produced child care proceedings at the high court level, represented myself, but I was unable to challenge them because the judge was also in their favor. Whatever I say, the judge said, oh, the local authority have said this, so I believe the local authority. And the judicial setup in the United Kingdom is one that is powerless to investigate a document. They cannot investigate the authenticity of a document, whether the document presented to them are correct or not. You have no power to investigate those documents. They will admit those documents as being the evidence in the case without knowing that those documents were false or not. They would not bother into it. They will just conduct a proceeding. So that's what we are going to be saying, fraud at high level.
Yeah, it's an eye-opening book of poetry, Sound the Trumpet, by Mr. Allie Smith. Living in the United States, we tend to think that we have sort of mirror societies between us and England. Not necessarily the case, and you do an excellent job of pointing out the relationship between the ethnic minorities and the British authorities in England and Wales. Time is going by so quickly in the program. A couple minutes left. I want to talk about the challenges. By the way, the book is Sound the Trumpet by Mr. Allie Smith. You'll find it at Amazon, the usual places. What were some of the challenges in writing? How difficult was it for you to write this book?
Well, to approach the subject matter discussed in the book, referencing abuse of rights and corruption at high level, and referencing the sufferings the ethnic minorities are undergoing in the UK. So that was a big challenge. And also correlating these issues with the United States of America, where there are lots of liberties accorded to the citizens. And those citizens of the USA have got a lot of freedoms which they can exercise without fear, and they are given the right to doing so. But in the UK, it's more or less a system of royals and peasants. If you are a peasant, you remain as a peasant. If you are a royal, you dominate the ethnic minorities. And in the UK, the ethnic minority are not allowed to progress. They cannot break the chain of suppression. They will continue to be in that chain, and they will continue to be oppressed. That's not the same in the USA, because in the USA, we are seeing black people progressing, gaining high positions. For instance, Obama became the president of the United States of America as a black person. But it will never I don't think it will ever take place in the United Kingdom, because of the system of royals and peasants is still in operation as far as the AD 54, before the reign of Julius Caesar. It has been going on, so it continues to operate. It will not be easy to eradicate this thing, because in the USA, you conducted a radical revolution and evicted the British authority from controlling the United States of America. So that radical revolution created a degree of freedom, which is not the same as in the United Kingdom, where there has not been any form of radical revolution which has evicted the old regime and instructed a new regime for peaceful coexistence of all races. That is not the case here, because in the USA, the colonists were strong enough to evict the corrupt British officials, and then instructed their own system of government, which accorded them rights to live in a way that they are now living. So it is not possible in the UK without radical eviction of the corruption.
And you bring that out. By the way, Allie's got a student of law, so he's coming at this from a number of angles in presenting his story in his book, Sound the Trumpet. Mr. Allie Smith, our guest on the program. Book is available at Amazon. Your website, which you alluded to, funnyzulus.com, is that a place to go? Is that an active website?
It's not yet active, because that is being put down by British Telecommunication PLC, and I am still looking forward to it being active, maybe by the end of this year or early next year, okay, as I got a new web developer to reconstruct it, set it up for me.
So the best place is just go to Amazon, or the usual places. It's Allie Smith, A-L-L-I-E, if you're Googling, Allie Smith. Sound the Trumpet is the name of the book. I've got about 2 minutes left here at the program. What would you like to say to the readers, the fans, in conclusion of the program, about the book and the impact of the book will have on them? Allie, I'll give you a couple minutes here just to sort of summarize what you'd like us to take away from this interview and from reading the book, Sound the Trumpet.
Well, my readers should pursue the book and try to understand the issues discussed, so as to enable them learn and prevent the reoccurring of those issues then. Because without learning, you will continue to live in darkness. So I suggest to my readers to read my book, learn and understand what has been discussed, to enable them combat suppression and other issues.
And the book is award-winning. Allie has won a number of awards, including he's a distinguished member of the International Society of Poets. The book is so well done, brings about some real issues we need to think about, and does it in a way that will capture our attention, and we will read through and, like I say, be shocked at some of the information we find in the book. The book is Sound the Trumpet. Allie Smith, our guest on the program from London today via Skype. Allie, it's been a pleasure having you with us. Best of luck with everything you've got going. Congratulations on your success as a distinguished poet. Thank you for spending some time with us on the program.
Thank you too, Mr. Reese.
It has been our pleasure.
Your time in interviewing me.
It has been a pleasure having you with us. Mr. Allie Smith, author of Sound the Trumpet, book available at Amazon, the usual places. Information, of course, on our website, thisweekinamerica.us. Back on today's program after these messages.
This Week in America is online. You can visit our website, thisweekinamerica.us. Scott Pinkerton, associate producer of This Week in America. Jay Anderson, segment producer. Ben Watson, webmaster. Otto Bechet, director of engineering and TV production. This Week in America produced and is a trademark of Blue Funk Broadcasting, LLC. For information on all of our guests and to listen to this week's show, our website again at thisweekinamerica.us. And I'm Sean Bratton, executive producer of This Week in America.